Beginning transmission.
This is the audio log of Dr. Cool, 05 Council member, as well as Supreme Commander Mobile Task Force Alpha 1, also known as the Red Right Hand. Hello everyone. Today's article file request comes in from a Mr. Joel West, or Agent West. Agent West has, of course, sent in this article request for the month of December, and I agreed to do it. So, let us get in, of course, to our article file for today, shall we? Item number SCP-204, Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-204-1 and SCP-204-2 are to be kept in a 10 meter x 10 meter fortified holding area in sight. The holding area must be constructed out of armor-plated steel and heavily reinforced concrete. The holding area must also be vacuum sealed and contained within an outer shell, with a high air pressure that must always be maintained with at least 2 psi over the current air pressure in the holding area. At least one full security team must be kept on standby at all times. It is only during SCP-204-1's scheduled feeding times that D-Class personnel are allowed to enter for the purpose of maintenance. SCP-204-1 typical diet consists of any kind of meat, preferably from living subjects. Such subjects will often consist of aggressive animals such as wild dogs, bulls, or any other animal that must be euthanized due to aggression. However, D-Class personnel will also suffice if such food sources are available. SCP-204-2's diet consists of a regular human diet, with no special measures required. SCP-204-2 is allowed to make special requests, but any and all requests must be given 05 approval. Any personnel caught attempting to deliberately provoke SCP-204-2 will be immediately terminated. So that's your warning for those of you that are wanting to try and challenge our authority. Security personnel are required to ignore any and all of SCP-204-2's attempts to provoke a response from them unless there is a clear and present risk of containment breach. Failure to do so will result in harsh administrative punishment. When SCP-204-2 is about to turn the age of 14, the Foundation must initiate Containment Protocol 204. Further details may be found in Containment Protocol 204 requirements. In the event of a containment breach, EMP generators must be immediately activated in order to keep SCP-204-1 disabled. Once EMP generators have been activated, security teams have approximately 30 seconds to neutralize SCP-204-2 before SCP-204-1 can adapt and reassemble itself. If containment cannot be achieved in this time, SCP-204-1 must be contained by conventional means. Security team and agents are authorized to use any conventional weaponry at their disposal to contain SCP-204-1 and SCP-204-2. If SCP-204-2 is terminated during containment, then Containment Protocol 204 must immediately be initiated. Description: SCP-204-1 is a semi-organic nano-machine colony that follows SCP-204-2 as a form of protector. SCP-204-1 spends the majority of its time in a dispersed cloud, where it is almost impossible to perceive with normal human senses. However, if SCP-204-2 is put into danger, or if SCP-204-2 commands it to, SCP-204-1 will instantaneously materialize into a solid physical form. The exact shape and nature of this form is subjective, depending woefully upon SCP-204-2's view, state of mind, and imagination. Despite its variable nature, SCP-204-1 has a number of common traits. These include massive strength, large size, basic intelligence, perfect obedience to SCP-204-2, and the ability to regenerate itself after consuming living flesh. SCP-204-1 is vulnerable to conventional weaponry and can be temporarily forced back into a dispersed state if enough damage is inflicted. SCP-204-2 is always a child, ranging from 4 to 14 years old. Physically, there is nothing outstanding about SCP-204-2 besides its ability to call upon SCP-204-1. All instances of SCP-204-2 have common traits. All of them have had a history of abuse and danger, with many developing acute mental disorders as a result. This makes instances of SCP-204-2 difficult to contain in any traditional manner, as great care must be taken to keep them in stable states. It appears that SCP-204-1 is attracted to such children, though why or how it finds them is currently unknown. If SCP-204-2 is terminated or reaches the age of 14, then SCP-204-1 will abandon it and find a new child to imprint on, as a form of self-preservation. If SCP-204-1 cannot find a suitable child, it will immediately materialize and go berserk, attacking anything in sight. Once SCP-204-1 finds a suitable candidate to protect, it immediately imprints upon SCP-204-2 and will follow it until SCP-204-2 expires or until SCP-204-1 decides to leave its own accord. At first, SCP-204-1 appears benign, protecting SCP-204-2 from overt threats. However, through careful study and observation, it has been noted that all instances of SCP-204-2 began to adopt a much more aggressive, danger-seeking behavior with little regard for human life. It is theorized that SCP-204-1 is able to manipulate SCP-204-2's thought process in order to behave in a fashion that would benefit it. It is assumed that since SCP-204-1 requires organic flesh for substance, it needs SCP-204-2 to be in danger in order to justify its activation. See Addendum 1 for further details. Now, Addendum 1. There have been numerous recorded instances where it is believed that SCP-204-1 has been involved. The first such recorded incident was when a car was found in a residential street completely torn apart and covered in partially devoured human remains. Similar instances occurred until agents managed to track SCP-204-1 to where they had made contact with the first recorded incarnation of SCP-204-2. It took 3 more attempts and numerous casualties before SCP-204-1 and SCP-204-2 was successfully contained. Interviews with SCP-204-2 revealed that it seemed to feel a need to experience danger, such as standing in traffic or provoking hostile responses from others. When questioned on its reasons, SCP-204-2 simply replied that SCP-204-1 allowed it to. Containment Protocol 204. In order to keep SCP-204-1 successfully contained, it has been necessary to keep a permanent stock of candidates to replace SCP-204-2 in the event that the current one isn't terminated or abandoned. Ideally, all candidates should be orphans below the age of 10 with a history of abuse. However, in times of need, Article 12 of Containment Protocol 204 may be authorized to allow candidates that don't meet specific requirements. They will be put under the supervision of caretakers, which will consist of D-Class personnel convicted of violent crimes, child abuse, and even pedophilia, with Foundation staff present to prevent inadvertent termination of candidates. Personnel selection for Article 12 will follow the same guidelines as special requirements for SCP-231. If SCP-204-2 successfully reaches the cutoff age of 14 years, and SCP-204-1 abandons it, the former SCP-204-2 must undergo a rigorous anesthetic treatment and thorough psychological examination before being reintegrated into a government foster program. If it is deemed that the former SCP-204-2 cannot be successfully integrated, then subject must be immediately terminated. Now, Addendum 2. As of the writing of this report, the Foundation has contained 13 instances of SCP-204-2. 11 instances exhibited the trademark hostile and violent behavior typical among all instances of SCP-204-2. However, 2 instances of SCP-204-2 showed a remarkable improvement in their mental health and stability, and had the lowest number of containment breaches. It is currently unclear what specific factors triggered these differences in behavior, as the exact mechanisms SCP-204-1 uses to manipulate its host is still unknown. Doctors note, I would personally like to see these 2 candidates be personally trained under my supervision and my research staff to see what kind of factors helped affect their mental stability. Just putting that out there. Now, Addendum 3. Though there is evidence to suggest that SCP-204-1 may be sentient, or possibly even sapient, all attempts to communicate directly with SCP-204-1 have resulted in failure. Currently, the only feasible method of communicating with SCP-204-1 is to use SCP-204-2 as an intermediary. Unfortunately, the violent tendencies and hostile behavior exhibited by nearly all instances of SCP-204-2, as well as their questionable mental stability, make this approach highly unreliable. Except for the 2 possible candidates that I would like to see, of course. It may actually be our only method in understanding and directly communicating with SCP-204-1. But then again, I will just see what my colleagues of the O5 Council have to put in for that request. But anyway, that was the article file for today. Thank you so much, Agent West, for your contribution. I hope that your studies with this SCP go smoothly. I, for one, personally don't like children. I tend not to be around them. However, you may actually do better than my team has been. But anyway, this is Dr. Cool, O5 Command, signing out.